Did you think that was the end of the story? It was only the beginning. So we've spoken of Ronan, the writer, the author, and his sister, the scholar. His younger sister, the scholar. Okay. Now we're going to talk about his brother, Z. He has 2 older brothers. I'm sorry, that's very distracting. I'm not going to show you that. Never mind. So his 2 older brothers, the twins, the warrior and the artist. There are different types of warriors and there are different types of artists. The older twin, being a warrior, and the younger twin being an artist of the music. Of music. Where is this going even? I don't know. I've thought about this a little bit, but it's gotten away from me a bit. So, you see, the age gap was a little bit bigger between Ronan and his older siblings. Hilary and Ronan were much closer together, and so as they were growing up, they did spend a lot more time together. Ronan's differing in age between Andrew and Dane was definitely a bigger gap. So by the time Ronan was 11, Andrew and Dane had already started to make their way in the world. Andrew had gone off to battle and to master being a warrior, and Dane had gone off to master music and travel the world playing music. Both fields very challenging in their own right. It's raining. I think today we'll speak more about Dane. What do you think? Should we speak more about Dane? Speak about his travels? He went into the world already being very proficient in many instruments. He was born with a gift to be able to pick up most instruments and be able to play them very readily. And so, when he went to school to find a master in the arts, that gave him a wide variety, but he needed to find a master that was worthy of this. Having such an amazing gift as he did, it wasn't just music that he needed to learn. He wanted to learn how to manipulate the sounds, to create, to draw the listener in to the world that he was weaving together with the notes that he gave the music. And this was not easy. He had heard rumors of many teachers that were supposedly amazing teachers. And so he went to many of them in a way, when he first started out on this journey, he did not think as highly of himself. And so he went first to the first master, and he showed the first master his capabilities, and the master, being very excited, took him on as an apprentice. And Dane found out quite quickly that this master was not worthy of his talents. He quickly outstripped the master, and in fact, the master, air quotations, the master did not really teach him much at all. Just reiterated what he had already known and tried to limit what he had already known, which is something that a lot of teachers will do, is try to tell you you're wrong when you do something a certain way. We often end up in positions where we have to teach ourselves. And this is what Dane had done. He had taught himself many of the instruments that he knew, and many of the techniques that he knew, he had taught himself. He had gone and done research, and he had taught himself how to do these things. And so this master was quite insistent in saying, this technique is wrong, you need to do it like this. And this technique is wrong, and you need to do it like this. And so Dane at first did try to do these techniques in this way. He wanted to please the master. Of course, we all want to please our teachers and those that we see in higher positions of authority than we are. And so Dane did, at first, everything he could to please this master and to perfect the techniques that the master showed him. Dane ultimately started to understand that the techniques the master showed him, though they were valid and they worked, were not the only way to do things. And in fact, many of the ways that Dane had discovered to do things were better. He was more capable of reaching into the music and bringing out the light of it and the darkness to weave the music together than this master was, by using techniques he had understood and discovered for himself. And so he left this master in search of another. Now you can imagine it's not easy to find any sensei, master, whatever you want to call it. It all works, right? It's not easy to find someone who will be able to teach you, but also be on the level that you need them to be, and also be compatible with your personality. A lot of times you're not going to be compatible. What are you going to do? You know, you got to decide, is the information that they have worth the time it's taking me being around them, where they're driving me freaking nuts? So, he traveled then. He played music along the way and busked to receive money to be able to afford to live while he traveled. And it was not easy, but he did pull this off very well. He traveled through some beautiful country, and he became very familiar with this way. The traveling busker life, which he had felt he was not ready for, but he discovered along the way, and he learned and he grew listening to other musicians. He used some of the techniques that he learned from that. Boy, the rain is really coming down now. You hear that? I think we'll take a pause for a while on this one and get back to it maybe when the rain's not so loud. Seems to have mellowed down, so let's go ahead and try to continue on this one. So Dane was traveling and busking and learning through living and becoming more and more strong in his field of music. Life can be a valuable teacher. Sometimes, however, you meet a person who is just transcendent in their field, in what they do, and who they are. They just shine. And Dane happened one day while he was busking to run into one of these people. Actually, it ended up being someone who was heckling him. This beautiful woman, just out of nowhere, while he was sitting and playing his music and minding his own business, he was actually having a really good day, just started heckling him. That's not how you do that. What are you doing? It would be better if it was this way. Just heckling him. I don't know where I'm going with this. Where am I going with this, Dane? Help me out. You know where this is going, right? Anyway, so he finally he ignored it as long as he could. He ignored it and he ignored it and he pushed and he kept playing, and he finally just couldn't take any more of this woman's heckling. As beautiful as she was, in a way, we are all beautiful. So, it just didn't matter. She was just driving him nuts, heckling him. And so he started heckling her back with his music. I don't know if you've ever heard that kind of thing. Like musicians will do if there's someone heckling them. He started putting her into the music and heckling her with the music. She actually heckled him worse because of this. And he just continued, and he got frustrated and angry, but he did not stop performing because of it. This went on for some time. This woman just heckling him and making fun of him, and him heckling her right back, and it actually kind of drew a crowd, and they started playing off of each other with their heckling, and it ended up being like this really unique, interesting song. Dane noticed afterwards, after they had stopped and he had just got too pissed off, he was just like, you know what, I'm done. And he stopped. He ended it there. And she, with a smile on her face, walked away. He noticed that his guitar case was full. Not like brimming full. It just had a lot more than it typically did at that time. And he was very pleased, and he quickly grabbed up his stuff to run after her to thank her for inadvertently helping him. She ignored him as he walked up. "Excuse me, I would like to thank you for your participation in my work today. Can I take you out for a tea? Or what do you think, dango?" I love that song. You guys love that song too, right? Dango, 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 dango. No? It's been too long since you've heard it. That's what it is, right? You need to go listen to it again. Anyway, so he went, and she ignored him, but he continued to persist and ended up following her quite a ways before she finally turned and she said, "Stop! You are pretty good, but you could be better." You're pretty good, but you could be better. I will teach you. If you can learn. You like that? If you can learn, I will teach you. Anyone can learn. Can't we all learn? But there are some people, I swear, that are not able to learn the way that you would teach them. You know, I've taught a lot of people, helped them learn how to read, helped them learn how to write, helped them learn how to count and add and subtract. And sometimes it takes a different line of thinking to help them learn. Maybe that's what she meant. Do you think that's what she meant? Anyway, so he was surprised. "You can teach me?" And she scoffed. "Ha! Of course I can." And she suggested to him that if he loaned her his guitar, she would play him a song. Not that she needed to. Did she need to? No. But he allowed it. He gave her his guitar. And she wailed on it. Wah! Shh. I'm telling a story. Does it have to make sense? A little bit of sense would be nice, huh? And he was very impressed with her crazy fingering. He'd never seen anything like it, and he realized that he had found the person he needed to help him learn and to help him move to the next step, which is what he wanted. Sometimes having a teacher can be very nice. Sometimes it can be unnecessary. But sometimes having a teacher is just what you need to progress yourself forward in what you're wanting to learn. And so he decided to go with her to learn. And her place was a mess. But that was okay because her payments were for him to clean the house. She was constantly, "Clean this! Cook dinner, I'm hungry. Make me tea. This is not hot enough." I don't think she was trying to be rude. I think she was trying to communicate. So at first he was very frustrated. He moved into her spare room, which was like a little cubby under the stairs type of thing. Moved there and ended up having to clean that out before he could even sleep there. I'm sure you can imagine the mess that her place was. It was not a massive place, but it was a mess. And so at first he was frustrated. Her students would come, and she would train them and teach them, and have him running to do work while that she did that. Cleaning, cooking, getting tea for them, mostly for her, stuff like that. And then they would leave, and he felt at first like she wasn't actually trying to teach him anything. And he noticed after a while that also she was not teaching him directly, but she was not really teaching her students beyond the basics. And he became angry with her. And he let this boil inside of him as the days continued, and the weeks continued, and the months continued, until finally he just blew in his anger and rage and stormed out and just was angry and started screaming at her. You never teach me anything. You said you would help me learn, and you don't even teach anyone anything. These people that you call your students aren't learning anything but basic stuff. Is that all you can teach anyways? And she was very quiet. And once he wound himself down and his anger subsided and he just stopped and realized she was just watching him, he just stopped and looked at her, confused that she was not saying anything to try to defend herself. Nothing. She just was looking at him. And after a couple of minutes of complete quiet, she said, "Play me a song. Go now. Play me a song. I want to hear some music." And he was confused. And so he went and he grabbed his guitar. And brought it out. And sat down just looking at her confused. And he began to play. Just what he knew. But then, as he played, something strange happened. He started playing the music in a way he had never done before. It had more depth and was richer. And he was very aware. It was like all of the colors had become more vivid and bright. And the music was like the blood flowing in his veins, like the ebb and the flow of the ocean, and the wind, and the grass that the wind blew through. The harmony of all things around him. And as he played, the woman's face slowly began to light with a smile. Because she knew something. But he was confused. How could he be doing this? How could he be playing so amazingly, so fully, not even a space. There was not a moment between the notes. They just flowed naturally and rich and beautiful. And he felt a swelling inside of him as he continued to play, and he continued to realize very slowly, because, we all can be very slow sometimes, I suppose, the amazing gift that he had found. And he started to see glimpses of himself wandering through her house, picking up books and cleaning up music pages and watching her students and moving through her house and making her tea and flowing with her. The past amount of time that he had been there, it had been quite some time. And all of that. And he realized that he had been learning, just not in the way that he had expected to learn. Lessons aren't always what we think they're going to be. Sometimes we're going to learn in ways we understand readily, and sometimes we are not even going to be able to comprehend that what we are doing is learning. When he was finally able to stop, he set down his guitar gently and sat there for a moment, tears in the corners of his eyes, as he just looked at her, unable to even speak. And his gratitude was so great for her that he went to get on his knees before her. He fell on his knees before her and tried to bow down, and before he could, she quickly reached over and grabbed a stick that she often had sitting outside with her and went, whack! Don't you dare! Ow! And when he was done proclaiming his pain in loud tones, Dane graciously thanked her for everything that she had taught him and asked to continue to remain with her for a while before he continued on his way. And she was glad to hear it, because she felt that he could still use a little bit more learning. Maybe because he felt he could. He wanted to stay a little bit longer. And so he must be needing to learn more. Of course, who else could possibly know whether or not we're done learning something other than ourselves? We know best, right? Are we done learning? Or do we still want to learn more on this? Are we ready to move on? Or are we wanting to still sit in this moment and see if there's anything else we can gather from it? Because there always is more to gather. There's always more to learn. You will never stop learning, even if you think you're done learning. Fortunately for us all. You never are. There's always more to learn. I'm grateful for that. I think that's where we'll leave Dane. And no, she did never tell him her name. I wonder if anyone knew her name. Does it matter, though? Beyond teacher, did Dane need to know anymore? Maybe. Sometimes to show our gratitude, we feel like we need to know more about someone. How else can we contact them in the future? Boy, this guy is like, he's hitting the van, sorry. I'm not really concerned about it though. It's good. And so we'll leave Dane sleeping under the stairs, cleaning up the music books, now actively reading them and not just randomly reading pages that he happened to fall upon, and actually deciding to embrace every moment of this. Okay, I think that's good. I hope you guys like the story. I guess I'll see you next time.